In this week's Do Something With Your Marketing, I want you to take the results of the CMO survey from the most recent CMO survey, and we're going to use this to figure out what our marketing budget should be. So this is going to take the existing results from the survey with our own company's metrics and figure out what should our marketing budget be. It's that time of year. I'm recording this towards the end of September. Everyone's in budget cycle. So what should our budget be? And there's a number of different things that we're going to use to calculate things like marketing budget overall, analytics budget, social media, etc. So first, you're going to want to go to cmosurvey.org and scroll down to view the results. And the specific deck that we're looking for is the report of results by firm and characteristics, which will open up this lengthy PDF. Scroll down. And what we want to go to right now is just about line 25 here, right? Marketing spending. What percentage of your firm's overall budget does marketing currently account for? Now, what's important here is not the average, but the averages within specific industries. You see here, banking, finance, insurance, communications, media, consumer packaged goods, consumer services, education, energy, healthcare, manufacturing, mining, construction, service and consulting, retail, wholesale, tech, software, and biotech, transportation. So these are the major industries. And you'll see here three sets of numbers. You'll see the number of respondents for this question, 169, the mean, which is the average, and then the standard deviation. For our purposes, we're going to use the mean, the second row of numbers here, which is this row right here for our computations. So we're going to start with this. Let's go to a brand new spreadsheet. And we're going to, let's do firm budget. All right, so what is your firm's overall budget? If you know what your firm's overall budget is, then you would put that in here and then do marketing spend. And this would be equals this cell times, and then the mean for our industry. So I work at Trust Insights. We're a data science consulting company. So we would fit in category J here, service consulting, 12.15%. So 0.1215, it would be that. So if let's say our firm had a budget of $100,000, our marketing spend would be that. Now, if you don't know what your firm's operational budget is, which a lot of companies may not necessarily have that information, that's okay. There are other ways to get at that number, and you'll see that in this study. If we go back up to the top here, if you can't get the marketing spending, you can go to marketing expenses account for what percent of your firm's revenues, which is a useful question. It's easier in a lot of cases to get a company's revenue number rather than their budget. So again, number, mean, standard deviation, find the industry. For my industry, that mean is going to be 6.2%. So let's say, let's put a new column here. Firm revenues, marketing spend. So let's say, again, my company has $100,000 in revenues. You know what? Let's make it $1 million, just for fun. We'll make it $1 million, right? So our marketing spend, based on this, should be 6.2%. 0.62. So that would be my overall marketing spend. Let's go ahead and turn this into dollar signs here. So that's a way of getting at this number. Now, if you look, obviously, if your firm's budget is a wildly different number than your firm's revenue numbers, you could have potentially a whole bunch of different scenarios here where you can have some very, very different spends on this. Now, the next thing we want to do is you'll notice in this survey, there are also other things to determine, like how is marketing budget allocated, for example, and how is digital media allocated. So let's go down to 37. Let's see. I don't want. Here we are. What percentage of your marketing budget is currently devoted to training and development? And go up to that. And now I see 7.2% from my company's category. Here, find your company, your category. So let's do this. First, decide which of these two you have a better grasp of a number for. Do you have a better grasp of the firm budget or the firm revenues? Depending on that, choose your path. So let's go ahead and move this over one column here. And now, training budget. And we're going to take that, what percentage of your marketing budget is currently devoted to training and development, 7.42 for my industry. So type in your own number for your own industry equals this times 0.0742. I'm going to repeat it over here. So again, depending on which column I'm using to determine budgets, I should be spending, if my company makes $1 million, my marketing spend should be about $62,000 a year, of which $4,600 should be on training. Remember, these are benchmarks. These are not necessarily what your company should do, but they are things that your company could do to decide, like, are we vastly over or under investing in certain areas? And if we're doing so, is it a conscious choice? Is it a choice that you've decided to make, even if you know it bucks the norm? Or is it just kind of how things evolve, and maybe you want to use this as a justification to right the ship, as it were? So that's an interesting, useful stat here. Let's go down here. Next one. How is your paid digital media allocated across the following channels? Right, so these are percentages of budget spends across different types. So you have other, print, paid search, paid social, paid display, etc. Television, paid video, radio. And so for my firm, if I wanted to, I could take all of these different percentage numbers and multiply my parts of my budget depending on what my percentage of paid should be here. Now that's not detailed in here, so you have to decide how much paid media is worth in your budget before you go sticking that number, because you're obviously not going to spend 100% of your marketing spend just on paid media, right? However, one of the numbers that does stand out in here is in social media. We see what percentage of your marketing budget you spend on social media. So let's go down here. And again, 8.94% for service consulting. So I'm going to do social media budget equals this times 0.894. Again, remember, could be either scenario. And then we're going to scroll down past this into, go back to the top here. Mobile marketing. So what percentage of your budget you spend on mobile activities? Current, 8.43% for my company. So equals this times 0.843. So you can see you're beginning to get a sense of what you could be spending in each of these areas. Now, one of the things that we talked about recently at the MarTech conference was that companies that are industry leading on, let's do data and analytics budget. Those companies that are industry leading spend between 20 and 25% of their budget on data and analytics. So if we do this times 0.25, now you can see that's about how much a year, if your company is $1 million company, you should be spending about 15 grand, give or take, on data analytics for marketing, not overall. And this is where companies can get into borrowing budget from one department or to another, etc. But just as a marketer, if I had a $60,000 marketing budget, 15 of that should be going to measuring stuff. And with these numbers, remember, this is not just hard dollar costs in terms of services and software. This also would have to include things like agencies, possibly. It could include staffing and stuff. So these numbers, obviously, depending on the size of your company, could be really tiny. So I know with my company, we're not $1 million company yet. We're getting there. This would be a very small number to spend on data and analytics for marketing, right? We would probably make a conscious choice to spend more. So let's go back up to the top here and just check that there are any other categories in this for making decisions that we could use for budgeting. Oh, what percent of your marketing budget do you spend on marketing analytics? Let's see what CMO said. Ooh, in my industry, 8.27. That's a little scary. So let's go ahead and readjust that to 0.827. There we go. All right, so now we've taken our marketing budget and carved out training, social, mobile, analytics. What else we got in here that we could use to slice and dice this? Well, that's about it from the CMO survey. So you've got a good starting point to at least benchmark your company. Where are you in your spending? And percentage-wise, if you were to put in your company's revenues. So at one company I worked with a few years ago, their revenues were about $20 million. Right, did I do that right? Let's put in some commas. There we go. Yeah, $20 million. So their marketing budget should have been about $1.24 million, right? Of which $102,000 should have been spent annually on data and analytics. Now, as a person who is in the marketing team, I can tell you with absolute crystal certainty, A, we didn't have $1.2 million in marketing budget. We had maybe chop a couple zeros off of that. And B, no way did we have that for a data and analytics budget. Even if you throw in salaries of employees, we still were not anywhere close to that spend. So this survey is a really useful way of trying to benchmark where is your company supposed to be on its spend. If you have this nagging suspicion that I don't feel like marketing has enough resources. Well, at least based on what other CMOs are doing, you now have a starting point to at least make an argument for or figure out how can we start to build a budget that is more in line with what others in our industry are doing. And that, I think, is the most important part of this. It is not companies overall. It is within those individual sectors. Because some of those sectors, like mining, for example, hardly spends anything on marketing, right? And so, yeah, if you're in that industry, your budget's going to be real, real small. On the other hand, in retail, your budgets are huge, but you're expected to deliver huge results for that. So use the survey and use this exercise that we just did, depending on, again, what you know, whether you know your firm's budget or your firm's revenues, to estimate what should we be spending on marketing. By the way, let's just do this. Remainder equals sum of this and this. So out of this budget here, this is what's left. That could be things like salaries. That could be things like your paid media executions and things. Let's turn this back down to $1 million. Right, so if you had a $1 million revenue line and you could spend $62,000 on marketing, that might be what you have left to spend for the year on ads, on services, on infrastructure. It is not much money. So keep that in mind too. If you have a number that from your firm's revenues that is really, really small, you may have to get real creative in your marketing to be able to make it all work based on on what other companies are doing, other peers are doing. So keep that in mind too. It might not be good news, and do the exercise before you present it to anybody in case it says something you're not real comfortable with. You may have to do some more homework and more research to figure out how to justify a larger marketing budget than your peers if that number is less comfortable than you would like. If you have follow-up questions, leave them in the comments below. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the newsletter. I'll talk to you soon.
Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.